All right. So this is the theatrical cut of Justice League. You are in for a treat. I think that this is a kind of an average movie. Oh, and by the way, this is Access Entertainment logo that you're seeing. It used to be Rat Pack Entertainment. Brett Renner was purchased out by this other company. Interesting. We'll talk more about that. Here we have the awesome, introduction of DC Comics. You see all the popular heroes and the DC logo. It's an interesting movie. This starts off with this handheld footage. I would have definitely chosen a better cinematographer for the pickups. I know that they were in quite a rush to finish this. There's even a meme about the CGI mustache. And I think that this costume right here is definitely horribly lit. I don't think that, you could have, I think you could have done a better job, to be quite honest with this. I get what they were trying to go for, to bring something like cool, like Superman smiling in the beginning, right? Joss Whedon was hired to pick up the reshoots, and I have to say that when I watch this movie, I have to adjust the setting. I turn down the color, I turn up the contrast, and I make the brightness a little bit darker. I have a 4K TV, and this feels to me closer to what the other cinematographer intended. A lot of people do like this scene. It's very much, Batman brooding, on top of a building. He swings, takes out a bad guy. There's a water tower. It's pretty simple to do. You can watch Batman do this 24/7 and never get tired. That is pretty damn awesome. Giving credit to where credit is due. Basically Batman is an awesome character. Again, slow motion. Snyder did that, but this whole scene is apparently done by Joss Whedon. And, if you played the Arkham games, you kind of remember this little handheld device, in his gauntlet. And, yeah, it's a cool scene, but I have to adjust the TV setting to match the other footage, because when I saw it in the cinema, Batman's costume looked blue, even though it's gray. In other shades of gray, it's pretty self-explanatory. If you're gonna do blue Batman, you're gonna do the Neil Adams, and there are a lot of Easter egg like Janus, or Ace Chemicals or things like that. But cool story, bro. I really like the fact that over here, the parademon is trying to scream something. What I can't forgive is that it doesn't scream either for Darkseid or for Steppenwolf. If you're gonna do that, it leaves a nice giant green imprint. And it's a cool Batman intro. I don't know what the intro would have been from Zack Snyder. But I do think that it kind of, it comes across as okay. They're moving a little bit too quickly for the audiences, and I think that's a problem with the film. It's kind of pacing, Again, it's really easy to make Batman look cool. You have, these reshoots. And, I think it's more the fact that Batman is cool. Joss Whedon has gone on record saying that he chose the song for this. I think that the song existed, but it was probably sang by Cohen, the original singer of this, instead of the gal singing it right now. These awesome black armbands that people wore when the comics of the death of Superman is replicated in these black armbands, this black Superman logo across all the important landmarks. We still have the Heroes Park in ruins. We have the Superman logo in this awesome jacket. I can tell that this is definitely the original cinematographer. He's done Game of Thrones, The Battle of the Bastards, things like that. And we've seen a lot of this footage from the Comic-Con trailer several years ago. You can tell that there is a difference in lenses. When it switches from the principal photography to the other photography. You can kind of tell which were planned really well and which one was like, let's reshoot. It's a beautiful song, and there you go, Fabian Wagner. He's the original cinematographer. I really enjoy this scene because you're kind of seeing citizens break down in civility. There's a lot of xenophobia because of it. This poor Muslim, I'm assuming it's Muslim family, found here. There's this, hateful person. And then it's kind of quite telling that we see a homeless person with a lot of people not giving a damn. But the thing that says I tried. In spirit, it is directed by Zack Snyder, but hopefully there will be a Snyder cut later on. I do find that this scene has a lot of the original principal photography. It's cut in a very, I would say, cartoony kind of a way, because you don't really get to see like a lot of the, I would say damage or gunshot wounds or things like that. And, it just cuts away, or it doesn't show it, and we mostly see people fall down and, bullets fly, bodies fall down, and then the soundtrack, I really don't like it. This bum 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 bum. It's kind of circusy, cartoony. It's putting levity on a situation that should be stressful, because there are children being held hostage, and you should not have circus music there. One of the beautiful things is that they did keep this beautiful, amazing intro. And the first thing you see is Wonder Woman's shoes, which are embedded a little bit with gold, the same thing as a statue. I really love that shot. Here we have Wonder Woman shot. It looks more like a Batman shot, with a grappling hook. And I think that one of the big changes that they should have done is that they should have had this cult be more about Darkseid. Instead of a reactionary fringe group, whatever the hell explanation was. If it was a cult about Darkseid and the end of the world, that would have been a much better explanation. All you would have to say is like, we're cults of the apocalypse. Everybody knows apocalypse, but in reality, they would be talking about Darkseid's home planet. I like the slow motion intro of Wonder Woman over here. Again, we saw a lot more, I wouldn't say brutal, but there was a lot more action in this scene than quick cuts. Um, you know, I like the idea of throwing the suitcase up into the sky, but that kind of leaves this bad guy, hanging to kill everybody, right? So luckily we get this awesome shot that, showcases her speed, Wonder Woman's speed. And while that is pretty impressive, I would like to have seen what the Snyder cut would bring. Because in the preview, in the trailer, we saw that the explosion actually went off. So we don't know if the bottom row exploded after all those guys took out all the guards and moved the kids upstairs. It would have been like a, compromise where you don't kill anybody, but you do show that they mean business. Beautiful shots, again, by Wagner. Real location probably enhanced some of the ice up there. Here we have Bruce Wayne with his Han Solo bomber jacket for cold. Nice whalebones on the side. Everybody seems to be, wearing comfortable, warm sweaters. Very quick cut. I don't like the pacing right now. It's cutting really quickly to like, I need to find this person, blah, 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 blah. And we have Jason Momoa with those awesome, contact lenses. I don't think anybody, not takes him seriously. That's Aquaman. Gearing up for WonderCon, we're seeing a lot of the images, for the release of the trailer. So I'm pretty damn sure we're going to be blown away. I've seen what I like so far, and they are staying true to the comics. Here again we have a very, very quick visual way of telling the story. Again, I think some of these scenes deserve a little bit more time, more build-up, because my girlfriend said it best. It feels like a Marvel movie, and in a Marvel movie, things just happen. They move too quickly, point A to point B to point C, and there isn't a lot of weight to a lot of the things. That's why Hugo Weaving is not around. But anyways, I really liked the shot. It was filmed on location. I like the way, Aquaman's like, I don't like you getting up in my business, man. Telling me and shit what to do. Yes, they're swearing. I really like his Aquaman portrayal, attitude. And if you thought like Aquaman didn't have attitude, you probably didn't grow up in the 90s when Aquaman was a badass, thanks to writers like Grant Morrison, for instance, who made him really damn badass in his Justice League run. My big thanks to Jason Momoa for doing this shot, because guess what? That's actually shot on location in a really, really cold part. Meanwhile, you have this other one where it's just like in a green screen. Here we go. Going back to the original shoot. And here we have the other one in a green screen. So I really enjoy the actual locations. I think this is a joke on the public. A freshly shaven Bruce Wayne, because they complained that Batman had too much scruff. Yeah, every tiny piece of facial hair was criticized from this man. So it's kind of a nice joke. I like the fact that Alfred made a coffee pot, and then kind of like a French press, and then they're having French press on a tiny espresso cup. Again, very inconsistent, Joss Whedon. Anyways, so they're talking about, trying to recruit Henry Allen, how Henry Allen's father was blamed for the mom's murder. They're kind of reintroducing these characters again. We saw them in the Batman intro. We're seeing them again. We saw them in Batman vs. Superman. It's almost like it's unnecessary to have so many damn introductions. But I guess, people want to have this kind of simple-minded narration, of like, this is thing A, this is thing B, this is thing C. They just want things overly explained. I don't recognize this world, says Alfred. And yeah, this is the one movie that feels a little bit off. I think that a lot of people who like the Marvel movies really like this one. But it's not what the fan base wanted. DC, we'd always known that things were going to get lighter in tone. The night is darkest before the dawn, as we were told by Nolan. And also the hero's journey from Joseph Campbell, going through the cave is a hero's journey. So we go from darkness to light. Eventually these movies were going to get a little bit lighter. But, the powers that be decided not to have that option. It is very interesting that Brett Ratner and Rat Pack Entertainment and that one producer named Berg is no longer attached. So if people want to point fingers, I would say just look at the people who are no longer with the company, and leave it at that. I really, really like Billy Kudrup. I know his name by heart because he was Dr. Manhattan. He was always my favorite actor in Big Fish from Tim Burton. He plays, one of the leads there, and he looks really good as Ezra Miller's dad. There's a comparison picture of Billy Kudrup when he was younger and Ezra Miller. They kind of look alike, so I'm very happy. There's a brilliant cast of actors. Pay attention to this scene, because as his father goes away, someone else sits down, and I'm not quite sure if it's Iris, but I do recognize the jacket, being that of the few images that we have of Iris. Here he goes. I'm not sure if that's Iris, but could be. I'm still waiting for the Zack Snyder cut. Some people might say, why didn't Superman lift that giant spacecraft? Jurisdiction, perhaps. It's not. Superman it's dead actually. So that question was brought up in the previous movies, and probably jurisdiction. It's the U.S. government said, nope, we want to study it. It was brought to my attention that the badge in this actor playing the custodian doesn't match the actor portraying him. That's a very simple, easy fix in post. Victor Stone, who is played by Ray Fisher, it's a great character. Definitely an 80s superhero. I love the fact that he's part of the team. I kind of wish that we get to see more fleshed out scenes of his origin. I think that we did get a lot more of that in the other cut. As it stands, I really like him as a character. I thought that the way he acted was a little bit, adequate. I remember seeing all the amazing workout videos that Ray Fisher was doing, even though most of his body was going to be replaced by computer generated imagery. You can kind of see some of his build, while he's wearing a hoodie over here. And if you're a fan of the animated series, Teen Titans, you recognize him. That's where he got a lot of fan base. But yeah, it was actually from the 80s where he was first conceived as a character. I like this shot of the hand just kind of screeching through the through the kitchen table. So yeah, I think these scenes do work for what they were meant to be. But I do remiss that I want to see what the other scenes were like, because apparently they made his character less dark and gloomy. But if most of your body is missing, I think that you will get that phantom limb itchiness, that kind of longing. Anyways, I don't know if you caught that, but the badge actually did match the actor in this one, so I think this is probably the principal photography one. Speaking of which, we go back to Themyscira. Again, a lot of these transitions don't make a lot of sense. They're just very, very fast. Very fast transitions. And I'm like, I don't like that. And this particular shot makes Themyscira look really tiny. But I think that kind of makes sense once you see the fact that these Amazonian warriors are they have a lot of buildings that probably dig into caves and things like that, so they may do what they have. Quick note, when I watched this film at the cinema, these costumes look really plasticky. When I watched them at home with the enhanced contrast, less brightness and less color, the highlights of the armor do seem like armor. And I think that's what the intention was. I think that a good cinematographer can give you the correct lighting for the costumes, give you that shine of armor that these Amazon warriors deserve. Speaking of armor, we have our big baddie over here, Steppenwolf, with a battle axe. I like the design, but I don't love it. I like the design they showed us in the conceptual artwork. I kind of do wish that they had kept his eyes purple, like towards the end of the movie. I also wish that his hands were not bigger in proportion, because right now he looks like a toy. The proportions do make him out kind of lanky, giant hands, giant head, small waist. It lacks a little bit of realism, and even some of his lip movements, run, yes, run. He has a stiff upper lip. Amazing scene showing the Amazonian warriors, sacrificing themselves to protect the mother box. And, this scene was brutal, and we're losing a lot of Amazons on this scene. And I do say that there was a lot more footage cut out, and they definitely did their best to kind of keep all the footage that they could. I know that Steppenwolf is, seems kind of non-threatening, but you see all the stuff he's doing. He's taking down Amazons like it was no thing. I like the ferocity of the Amazons, that even with like ropes and bows and arrows and lances and spears and lassos, they're still putting up a fight. To me, that kind of is really ballsy. I'm very sad to see this character go. There's a lot of off-screen death, and it makes me uncomfortable. If you're gonna kill off a character, please do it in a manner that suits them. Don't cower it away. So yeah, a lot of these deaths are very iconic, and I kind of wish they would have taken a little bit more time. But I guess the mandate was definitely to keep it under 2 hours, and I don't like that. These I think these characters deserved better, in my opinion. So for instance, this awesome reveal of all these amazing Amazons in armor, it deserved better. And for the controversy that, there's scantily clad women in Zack Snyder movie, read the replies of all these amazing actresses who were, who wore these costumes. They said that even some of the costumes in Wonder Woman, the movie, were a little bit more skimpy, whereas these ones had a lot more armor. But like I said on the Wonder Woman commentary, there was no controversy on that movie. It's almost like selective outrage is more damaging than any outrage whatsoever. But anyways, moving on. This is an amazing shot. Whispering things into the arrow and having someone with that much power, kind of shoot the arrow all the way across to, I want to say the Parthenon, in a very ancient Greek temple. And this is one of the awesome shots that we saw in the preview. And again, it's kind of an iconic shot. You have Wonder Woman cleaning a goddess when she herself is one. I like that look. It's almost identical. And she knows what this means with this lighting of the fire. This thing of aliens stole my husband. It's definitely something that they added to add some levity. And having, xenophobic crazy old lady make fun of aliens stole my husband. It's kind of disrespectful. We're past xenophobia. I don't know why this scene was shot this way. It almost seems like it was shot in the back of a high school cafeteria or something like that. I understand that people had to, reshoot a lot of these things very quickly. But there's a lot of things that don't really add up, like the gender of this, source being an object of contention. It's like, so he's a she. It's like, more douchey behavior, from people. Again, it didn't need to be there. The humor from the TV did not need it to be there. If you wanted to get hope and optimism, just say like, oh, I love the way Clark used to do this, and that. And then, Lois Lane could have said, oh yeah, I struggled to write a piece for his funeral. I know that he's gone, but, I'm still working, but the love of my life is gone. I feel like part of my soul's gone, something like that, where you can be hopeful and optimistic. But instead we get like, oh, he always said you were the thirstiest reporter. It's like, and then she corrects herself. It's like, I don't think these two people would use that lingo by accident or not, I think that's just silly, stupid writing from Joss Whedon, to be quite honest. And yeah, you don't give Amy Adams like a vest or anything. It's just very, very rushed. You have two cameras. It's almost like TV filming. There isn't a lot of cinematic things there, so kind of regrettable. I like the way these network grids form in his hands. And one of the things that was kind of unnerving from seeing early versions of his metal skeleton, is that his arms, his hands, they all look smaller in proportion, because we're so used to seeing bulky hands because we have flesh on top of our bones, whereas Cyborg is just pure metal. I think that the sound could have been better. Maybe could have been like ding, 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 kind of like what Lex Luthor was talking about. Great shot over here. I think that might have been original photography, maybe. I'm not quite sure. But whenever you see ambitious shots, is from storyboarding and planning. Many things that going into reshoots are not usually done, So I like the banter. But I think that this is where the scene, hey, did you talk to Aquaman? Did he say yes or no? Did he say more, or more or less? I think that's where this scene comes from. This beautiful scene, Steppenwolf, is split into two. I don't like that. I think this should have been the scene that you start your movie with, as far as, because this scene just cheapens it, I think you should have kept all of this, not cut it, we're here with these two people just walking around in some property. She looks like Negan with a red scarf and leather jacket. All she's missing is the bat. Well, I guess Affleck is the bat. I'm funny. I'm funnier than Joss Whedon. Anyways, so these designs are kind of serpent-like, I'm getting definitely a Zod, motif here. I like the fact that these priests, their armor kind of lights up too. Then you have Amazons, Atlanteans, and even the gods themselves are fighting there. I think that this was a very Lord of the Rings epic shot. I don't like the fact that it's orange. I think that the original way that was shot was better. I love the inclusion of Green Lantern. The gods are here. I don't know if that's Artemis. I know who this one is. I know that's Zeus right there. Wonder Woman's mother. Here's Ares with his battle axe. I love that shot. The gods take out the ship, and he's still trapped in Zeus' lightning. And one more. Hadouken. Here's King Atlan from Atlantis. Again, a very, very fast scene that should have definitely been your intro to your film. We have these slow motion scenes that I think would have worked better as the intro, because it would establish why it's so important to bring the Justice League together, my friends. Because back in the day, that's what they did. It's kind of like Lord of the Rings. When you first started Lord of the Rings, everybody was fighting to destroy the ring, and that's where Isildur saw the King of Men not throw the ring in. That's what this banded the bond of Middle Earth. So, likewise, you would start your movie like that. It just makes it more epic and it makes more sense. Over here, you dislike these two characters because it take you away from the awesome scene. And it shouldn't be like that, You shouldn't have disliking for either Wonder Woman or Batman, but they cut out a giant portion of that scene, which hopefully we'll see one day. Again, I think this is part of the reshoots. They had to move things very, very quickly. Here we have a shadowy figure, like, oh, somebody heard, and it's Victor Stone, also known as Cyborg. And, we're quite a lot into the movie. And we have our second Ezra Miller as the Flash scene. This scene was heavily teased in a lot of the trailers. You can kind of tell that, this stuff in particular was really well thought of. Why does he have all those TVs? Well, he's really fast. He gets bored of watching one. I know many people in the gaming industry who have 3 or 4 monitors. I mean, the Flash also has a lot of graffiti. I'm pretty sure he hates how slow the paint dries. The costume made from stolen parts of NASA makes sense if you read the comics. His shoes, tear apart because he runs really fast. The fabric of his, costumes tears through. So it makes sense that he had to build this from really resistant material. And they have explained the Speed Force, how the color of the speed of the lightning shows you how fast they're moving. Case in point, if you've seen the second season of The Flash, there's a reason why Zoom has blue lightning, and in the second season, Barry Allen still has yellowish lightning. It's easily explained, but people will nitpick things that they don't know. So even if you were to Google search it, you would know. But people are hard to understand. I think this is a Whedonism. What is brunch? It's like, this is precious material. Like you have 30 seconds of the Flash on Justice League. You're gonna waste it on brunch, But anyways, moving on. We have this pretty impressive car, which I think was only made for the movie. It was a concept car that Mercedes-Benz made with the intention of doing a lot of commercials on it in the hopes that it would catch people's attention. I don't know if they're ever going to make more, but it looks really sweet. I know there were haters online who, when they watched the commercial, they said the CGI looked horrible. That's because, they used movie footage and then they cut to commercial footage. And voila. To that one hater on the internet who complained about that, that is no longer there. And here we have Diana and Bruce Wayne's assistant, Alfred. In the Batcave. Again, precious screen time. Who took that shot of Batman? There were no cameras. The port was abandoned. Come on, don't be lazy, people. I can understand Wonder Woman busting through the door. There are cameras there, so. But yeah, things like that they could have used Lex Luthor Corp image where Batman swoops down and grabs a guy, kind of like Batman the Animated Series style. That was already established in the cinema tradition that footage existed. So why not just copy and paste that? It doesn't take a genius. Josh Whedon. And yeah, this scene is very interesting because Cyborg acts like EMP and just shuts down all the electricity and surveillance cameras, but then it also kind of gives away your position. If someone is going to be hunting you, they kind of know where you are going to be based on the blackouts. So I would not recommend him doing that all the time. It is really interesting that these scenes tend to be very late into the film. I would have placed them a little bit sooner, Again, it's all about pacing, Introduce the movie with Lord of the Rings style intro. Start gathering your troops. Have Steppenwolf attack the Amazons later on. Plain and simple. But then people would be like, well, then how the hell Wonder Woman got involved? So, yeah. So it does poses a few questions of which scenes were removed, because if they tried to recruit these people earlier and then she went away and then Steppenwolf happened, then she would have returned. It makes a lot more sense if, you edit the movie in a way that's a little bit more cohesive. One thing that I am noticing is that I watched all my movies in 4K ultra high definition, and when I popped in my 4K discs, I noticed that at first we thought that the color scheme was changed, that they had amped up the color on all the DC movies, but no, it's actually the ultra high definition, the UHD, that does that for you. It just brings out all the colors. It's not that Apple messed up or that the Xbox messed up. It's basically it brings out all the colors. So what you want to do in your film is have really good cinematography so that it looks without calibration, it looks adequate no matter what format you have, whether it's like DVD. For instance, this particular scene, I know that Matt Wagner had that awesome epic scene where two waves crash into Aquaman, but now it's like blurred out into the distance, in favor of a cut, so I don't know, man. Anyways, so we cut to a really cool underwater Atlantean scene again. I kind of wish that we had more of these scenes. I'm very excited for Aquaman. We are getting a trailer in this Saturday, I believe. I'm updating this before. I'm uploading this commentary before Comic-Con. So this particular scene is interesting because James Wan, the director, has kept, the way Mera looks, the way Jason Momoa looks, the way these, guards look. So what he's done is pay true homage to the DCU, but did his own thing, which is amazing. I think that my girlfriend is going to find Mera really amazing because, she likes Avatar, The Last Airbender cartoon, not the movie. So it's kind of like water bending and stuff, you know. Mara's a badass in the comics, I mean. And here we have Aquaman spinning and doing a punch. I'm not sure if that's the Aqua Punch, you know, like how Superman has the Superman Punch from the UFC. It'd be really cool if that was their version of, you know, Aqua Punch. I like that. And again, if Steppenwolf had looked a little bit more terrifying, I would have loved this scene even more. As it stands, I really like the fact that, you know, she creates a bubble to talk to both of them. I can tell from the lighting that these shots are definitely from principal photography. You know, they have a distinctive quality and setup, and you know, badass attitude that is not present on the reshoots. So yeah, I really like this dynamic that they don't like each other. You know, they're kind of destined to be together. You know, I think that a lot of people are wondering why does Aquaman have a quintet. You know, and I think in the Aquaman movie we're gonna get the answer that most of us who read comics know. You know, for instance, when he says over here, "I need something from you." Basically, it means that, you know, he needs a weapon. A quintet will do. The king of Atlantis has a trident. You know, like Poseidon. So yeah, that's where it comes from. Again, these Russian family, we saw this kind of civilian, you know, life in Age of Ultron, you know, in this, you know, Middle Eastern country. I think that they chose a deserted, you know, placing the original script because of the backlash against Men of Steel, you know, so it makes sense that in the reshoots they're like, well, we can put people in now, we just got to show them saving a few people and that'll be okay. You know, there's even trees that grow here. I really enjoy the way they're using this silo as a base, you know. I like this tablet. I kind of wish there was a better sound design. A lot of these sounds we've heard before. I don't know. I just think that you know, these things could have been done better. One of the things that I have noticed that I've been saying before is that even though I don't really love the design of Steppenwolf, seeing him in 4K is beautiful for Darkseid. That line, the dialogue is great. You know, but like just kind of gives you a whole idea why some people don't like dark movies. It's because projectors and cinemas are cheap, and these kind of rich black atmospheric shots like these are lost in translation. They appeared as dirty gray in the projectors because projectors want to save money, so they project it halfway there. They don't up the contrast. They don't want to burn the light bulbs too quickly. You know, so if you want the highest quality of a movie, basically you have to buy it in 4K. You know, here we have Commissioner Gordon looking better than ever. He looks like a commissioner with the awesome, you know, mustachio. I think this is a reshoot. I don't think that's a flattering shot. It's almost kind of sexist. It's probably Joss Whedon. You know, there's a bad signal. I don't know. I don't like this geeking out about the back signal, but whatevs. Again, we have very quick shots. We're not digesting the previous scene where they took, Cyborg's dad. We have a very flat brick wall. It's almost like, something out of a cheap theater production. We have a beautiful shot of Snyder's work, blurred out by a piece of plastic. Whatever. I think that we have a really beautiful scene. Probably the most of the original shooting. I wouldn't be surprised if they reshoot some of this. Maybe a shot or two. But I really love the way Gotham City looks. I hope that Matt Reeves kind of keeps it like this, kind of hyper surreal. Anyways, I love the dynamic. I don't know if you ever read my review, but I will definitely include it. I give it an 8 out of 10. I think that because it's like a 6 out of a 10 movie in quality, but seeing all my favorite characters on the screen kind of did bump it up a little bit more. I think that as far as the review goes, the characters remain intact, and that's probably the saving grace with this film. With all the meddling they did, they couldn't mess up the characters. I mean, they messed up the story, the tempo, the editing, some special effects, the color scheme, but the characters are all pretty much there, and I love these characters, though. It's an average movie, like a 3 stars out of 5, less than 6 out of 10, but because of the characters, I bumped it up a bit more. At least I'm logical about this, unlike other reviewers. This is one of the great Snyder shots. Just, Batman using the grapple. Beautiful. Again, killing off screen. It's very Marvel, very MCU. I really like this dynamic where they've never encountered someone like him before, because I think that in the extended files said that Steppenwolf had used Doomsday as a not target practice, but as a sparring practice. So, making this being a little bit more dangerous than, Doomsday, shows over here on the Flash's face. He's like, oh my god, this guy's terrifying. So I think that it could have been done a little bit better. That's the running theme of this movie. Could have been better. It's very superficial, and it needed a little bit more depth. So I really like the voice of Steppenwolf. I think the actor did a great job. So I do like him in his form. It could have been better, but I do like what he's saying. I also like the fact that Cyborg saved his dad. I don't know if you can tell, but right here, Steppenwolf's horns have blood. Probably from Amazons and Atlanteans, Speaking of Atlanteans, boom, this is the one person who will take on him without, being afraid. Wonder Woman. So, yeah. Very epic. Batman epic takedown. We expected another warehouse scene. We got some minimal fighting from Batman. Again, I really like the Flash here. They cut out the scene where he pushes a bug, because that's all he does. He's like, I just push people and run away. I love this line of my axe is still slick with the blade of your sister's. Very taunting. And I really kind of like the fact that Batman is struggling against one parademon. Because the cartoony thing is to make Batman like, I'm Batman, I can do everything. That's not how he's in the comic. That's how he is in the Lego movie. But even then, it's like he needs to learn a lesson or two. And, I really like the way that, Ben Affleck groans. Like, it's just, it is very Batman. Anyways, this nice kick that he does over here, and with the help of the grappling hook, pretty damn epic. Again, they have the same shot over here of Batman saying, now it's my turn. My turn. But in here, they switched it to need help or something like that. Anyways. Very cool action. Sorry guys, I didn't bring a sword. It's not as cool as my turn. And one of the brilliant scenes is coming right up. Jesus, you've seen Doomsday. You're good, man. Doomsday was taller. This is the brilliant scene that I really enjoy. Definitely principal photography. Definitely Zack Snyder visualized this scene. And it doesn't try to imitate Quicksilver from Days of Future Past or Apocalypse. It basically imitates a painting, with the finger in there. This is one of the few bits of music that I like from Danny Elfman. That Flash part. I don't like this part where the Flash lands on Wonder Woman for way too long. I don't know whose idea that was, but that needs to be removed. I also don't like the fact that Batman landed on his neck and nobody's like, hey, wait a minute. I like the fact that he says the old gods died, because he's part of the new gods. Very awesome. And I was expecting more of a battle here. I know that Wonder Woman has already fought him, but I was expecting a little bit more of a battle inside that. I don't know if they cut anything or not, but, again, these are precious characters. I want to see precious time being used effectively, even this part was refilmed, I don't even know why. But anyways, we have Cyborg using the Nightcrawler. I think it is kind of a mistake to shoot these kind of things, a rocket. And this is kind of a nice throwback to Richard Donner's Superman 2, where either Zod snaps a rocket in half. So, for anybody who's saying, oh, the Hulk did it, Ang Lee's the Hulk did it, I'm like, actually, it's from Richard Donner. Again, DC leading all the way. And yeah, they just, they're going to run into a lot of trouble with water. And then, of course, beautiful introduction of Aquaman in a some type of Atlantean armor, using a quintet. He's not quite the king of Atlantis yet. He's in exile. That was part of the dialogue back when Batman was recruiting him. Aquaman saying, "Hey, I don't like you coming up in my business. Atlanteans tell me to do this shit. Humans tell me to do another. I don't like it. I don't like you coming into my business telling me what to do, man. I already have two cultures telling me what to do." So, yeah, this is pretty awesome. I really love this scene. Again, I have my TV calibrated to Wagner's specifications. So I really love it. It is a highlight of this movie. I love this, little quip by Commissioner Gordon. Dressed like a bat. I dig it. Maybe temporary. Good dialogue. Humor out of the situation. I really love the fact that, there is good humor, but that comes from characters. I hate the fact that they cut the line, "I see you playing well with others," again. The fact that they changed that again, to remove that, seemed unnecessary. We already seen that in the trailers, and we know that we've seen the Robin costume, that the Joker killed. Even in the introduction of Harley Quinn, we saw that she was an accessory to Robin's murder. All these amazing things in favor of, bug spray. I mean, don't get me wrong. I do like this film. I don't dead love it, It's like, like a family member that went to rehab or something, and they came back not so quite themselves. You still love them because of your family, but they're kind of a little off, So, while I am speaking a lot of things that annoy me about this movie, just think of it like that, I didn't even notice there were bats, for instance. Now I have noticed that bats just flew across the hangar. The hangar looks gigantic, which is pretty awesome. And it does remind me that it is underwater. This whole scene was, I believe reshot, because we saw this very same kind of interaction. I think at the scene where Bruce Wayne was looking at the hologram of Batman, and he was wearing a black shirt. Anyways, the fact that they're talking about the possibility of using what's on your weird little mind. I like that line. They're talking about what the Mother Box does as far as energy goes. And here they're talking about, Batman is talking about what if you were stronger than a planet? Basically reviving Superman. I do think it's one of those scenes that I don't know what the other dialogue would have been. I think that until we figure that out, we just have to appreciate this. I really love the fact that Batman was kind of a jerk here. He's standing up to Diana. It's like, hey, Superman was the symbol of hope. Why haven't you? And then, he says, did Steve Trevor tell you that? And then she pushes him. I like that dynamic. I mean, even if this is a reshoot, again, they get characters right in this scene and in other, tiny instances. So, Joss Whedon, it's not useless. It's more that these characters can endure a lot of hits. speaking of hits, there it is. Diana just pushed him. You know, I like the fact that, here Bruce Wayne's a little bit more hopeful, and that's all because of Superman. Had I done this movie, I probably would have changed his costume to the Neil Adams blue, gray, yellow to kind of pay homage to Superman's colors. I mean, that would have been fine with me, but that's just me being nerdy. I like the fact that the forensic scientist says, "We'll cover for you if Diana kills you because you're being a jerk right now." Again, it works because it's a forensic scientist saying that, yeah, we'll cover for you. I like the fact that Cyborg punched all the data while Bruce was being an a-hole. I like that. I don't know if you noticed, but the mother box, the shine on it, it was a still image frozen. It didn't move, so it was probably digitally added. A lot of these scenes tend to be digital backgrounds. It almost looks like like Star Wars, but not their Group A. And it was kind of like Star Wars B budget or C budget, for whatever reason. Anyways, here we have more Alfred. I really like all of Alfred, really. Alfred brings quite a bit of levity to all these scenes. And offers, Alfred's basically, the little cricket to Pinocchio. He's a little conscious that tells him, "Hey man, you're messing up." Again, I like the fact that Bruce Wayne has several collection of armor down here. It's a callback to 1989 Batman with that collection of armors. It's like, oh, it's Japanese because I bought it in Japan. So I like all these things. Quick note, I did see this movie at the cinema opening day. I saw it in 3D because that's the way it worked. True story. There were very, very few people. It was a matinee. Also because it was 3D, the projection froze, and this particular scene was kind of skipped. I think we missed about a minute and 20 seconds, and everybody in the theater was too embarrassed to go tell the projector to fix it. I didn't want to miss a piece of the movie, so I didn't say anything, but people didn't want to go and complain because they're too polite. Yeah. I like the fact that these two are the accidents, and they're the youngest kids, It's a nice dynamic, and I like the fact that they have a good chemistry, on and off screen. Very cool shot. I think we saw this in the original trailers. Very, very Arkham-like. Arkham City, the video game. Man, I really enjoy Ben Affleck as Batman. I think that people don't realize how lucky we are to have a Batman that looks and acts like the real deal. And, Affleck has a lot of charities in the Congo and things like that. We're very lucky, to have him as a Batman. This whole cast, actually, I think that, the fact that a lot of people got to see the brilliance of Zack Snyder's casting. These are all Zack Snyder's kids, in a way, the characters, by the actors and everything. a beautiful hint to Hans Zimmer's beautiful soundtrack from Man of Steel. Too short for my taste. Should have been longer. But anyways, I love this. I cherish it for as much as I can. It's a little bit macabre, resurrecting someone, especially using the Genesis chamber. When I watch this scene, I kind of go, whoa, this is heavy, Nice imagery of John the Baptist over here. It is interesting that it's Aquaman who is submerging Superman. Beautiful symbolism right here. It also beautiful symbolism that it is Cyborg who is bypassing the key, and it's kind of like assessing all the power that the ship has left. It's almost like every character plays an important part, And here comes the Flash. It was like, well, I might be able to, give it a nice bolt of electricity. And Batman's like, yeah, do it. I like the dynamic, whereas, Atlanteans and Amazons, were at war. And then all of a sudden here, Aquaman is like, it's a bad idea. Sides with Wonder Woman. It's like, it adds to the legacy. And here we have one of the awesome set pieces of music, that I really like from Danny Elfman, the Flash timepiece. And this beautiful scene, it's again beautifully lit, filmed. The slow motion here on, Batman is like, whoa, just really high definition awesomeness. Again, more Ezra Miller imagery, and boom, giving it a bolt of electricity, bolt of power, and it's working. It's quite eerie but beautiful. And then boom, a burst of energy. And I think that the original shot of this was in nighttime. So I don't really know why they filmed it at dawn for the reshoots and everything. I understand you want more lighting, but at nighttime it was a little bit more darker. I was kind of like geeking out when I saw all this. Like, oh damn, they're actually doing the resurrection of Superman. I was like, oh damn, This is a wonderful scene. I think that aside from making it a little bit lighter in the daytime, still pretty much how Zack Snyder wanted it. This is what I want to see, my heroes on the screen, all of them. And I love the fact that Superman is basically rebooting. We saw this on Man of Steel, where he was looking through the flesh of people, just bones and everything. And that, Aquaman getting nervous raises the suspicion of both Aquaman and Superman. But also it activates Ray Fisher's guns. That's like a big no-no, because we know how powerful Superman is, but the League is about to find out why Wonder Woman was the key, and why everything went to hell if, Superman was ever resurrected by Steppenwolf, And I think it might have, I don't know what the Justice League Part 2 script called for, because this was supposed to be 2 films. If Steppenwolf somehow got to Superman before, these guys were able to get a hold of him, 2 things would have happened. We might have seen the Green Lantern and Shazam, because those are the only 2 big guns that I foresee taking on Superman and being able to do some kind of damage. Also, along with Wonder Woman. So Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, and Shazam. Maybe, Here we have all of them trying to do some major damage to Superman. But, again, great moment of levity. Everybody laughed in the theater, because this is just too funny. Superman's like, oh, so you think you're faster than me? And he's like, oh, snap. I messed up. So yeah, he's, as fast as the Flash, in some aspects. And I heard that, Danny Elfman was bringing the classic Superman theme. And this is the first time that I hear it. It's like, da, 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 da. It's like, I was expecting something bigger, something better. Same thing with, like, the Batman theme from Danny Elfman's repertoire. He only used it very, very tiny. And both Richard Donner, John Williams Superman theme, and Danny Elfman, Tim Burton Batman theme are bombastic. They're huge. They're meant to be operatic. They're meant to be a spectacle. And in this movie, they're reduced. Over here, we get a good example of male toxicity against Wonder Woman and a weaker opponent. It's Batman. I am very surprised that no blogger said this. It's like, hey, this movie teaches us that we should not embrace our inner toxic male, the alpha male. In this particular scene where Superman has his mind, wiped clean. A lot of people didn't pick up on that. Tell me, do you bleed? It's very creepy, especially done by Superman, And here comes, the conscience to our character. As we would say in the with me and my cousins, ooh, here comes the wife. And this dude is drunk. Take him home, slap him around, slap some sense. Not physically, no, I'm not condoning abuse, but, smack some sense into him, as it were. It's a beautiful scene. I kind of wish that we would have had, the beautiful song, If You Love This People from Man of Steel, or Louis, You Are My World. I think that would have worked so much better than whatever Danny Elfman came up here. And this is a very disgraceful shot. I mean, you could have chosen him on the side, looking up. Even this shot is kind of ridiculous. I mean, it just looks like a, damn cosplayer on the floor. And while all that stuff was going on, Steppenwolf stole the last mother box. Again, I would have liked to see if that was actually on the Zack Snyder cut or not. This beautiful frame of the Kent farm definitely screams of the Donner era. And I think that Zack Snyder always intended to go there, because there's a beautiful moment in this movie where Superman and his mom hug in the field, where Whereas the Donner movie, it was about Clark Kent leaving for North, to find himself. So we have a beautiful respect duality paying homage to the original, Donner Superman, which again, bloggers didn't seem to mind pointing out. It almost like they're blind or stupid or ignorant, or they don't care. It's almost like they review these movies and they don't care about the history. They don't care about the characters. They don't even pay attention to what the characters are doing or saying or being. In the scene, Wonder Woman sharpening her sword. Cyborg's like, hey man, I can't control this stuff. Aquaman's like, hey man, you might be working with the enemy. Flash is like, dude, I need food. And Batman's like, hey, I'm trying to keep this group together. Again, key scene. And it kind of showcases all the characters. Again, this is why this movie shines for me. The characters. I mean, I get to see my beloved characters on screen. With the right adjustment in my home theater system, they look a little bit more authentic to what Matt Wagner wanted. The cinematographer. So yeah, and I really like this clarification that the water does the talking. Aquaman does not talk to fish. Anyways, so that was definitely a good scene, and we see Batman moving on to the next room to also expand on the team dynamic. Over here we see Cyborg futzing around with the globe, trying to figure out where the Steppenwolf and Parademon army is located, where they are. Good use of older Batman, with his shoulder giving him problems, I like the fact that she kind of helps him get fixed, like his shoulder may be out of place, it just needs a little bit of pulling in the right places, kind of his attitude. Pretty fun. I'm not sure if these are reshoots or not, but there's a little bit of camera movement. It's looking up. It's hard to tell, what the hell these scenes. But I like the fact that Diana is actually wearing the cape. If I had to guess, it's probably a reshoot. Her hair doesn't look that well propped, and the tiara seems to be falling down a little bit. But then again, I don't know. It could just be a quick scene. I don't know. It does look a little bit like a reshoot, but whatever. I think it might be because it's tying to what they were talking about, that, she has been hiding, and things like that. Not the beacon of hope that Batman was hoping for. So yeah, it kind of makes sense. What it doesn't make sense is, like we don't know if Diana can get drunk or not. I know that in the cartoon, it doesn't work. So, here we have a beautiful shot from Zack Snyder. And the trailer is that, I take it, it's a yes. She says what? And then he says the ring, because she's touching it. Over here, that piece of dialogue was taken away. I don't know why. It served a great purpose because, he had the ring mailed to her, post-mortem, or, he was going to propose. Anyways, I kind of wish that, there was a little bit of better dialogue instead of saying itchy, strange, or, felt like a tornado, to think of his dad or something, or what did it feel like horses drowning, something that, goes back to his, the few chats that we've seen him have with his dad, with Pa Kent So yeah, I think that, the dialogue could have been bumped up a little bit better. We definitely see. Sometimes I can't notice the CGI mustache. Sometimes I can, but I just wish they would have kept the original photography. We're gonna find in a couple days whether or not there is a Zack Snyder cut, and I'm just kind of hoping that there is. Again, this moment was supposed to be very, very emotional, and it just feels like things are happening. We're in Zack Snyder movies. Things are emotional, whether you like it or not, but things have a beautiful array of emotions, whether it's like, sad, happy, this, whatever. There's a lot of, you feel the emotion, Spartans, tonight we're dying in hell. I mean, that stuff is, great. And I mean, that's definitely Frank Miller's dialogue, but Zack films things in a way that you feel it, you empathize. I think with the quick cutting, the weird pacing of dialogue, you get disconnected from a lot of these scenes, and this is definitely the Richard Donner, John Williams music used in a very, very good way. I don't know why there was a wide shot there. It's just like, as a director, you want to focus on the big moments, and then we cut to this very, very abruptly. Again, there needs to be more cohesiveness. There needs to be better transitions, and I'm not seeing it here. I do love the fact that once this starts to go, Steppenwolf's eyes change a little bit. They become dark black with some purple. Here we have some weird red sky that begins forming on top of it very, very quickly. We didn't see that on the original photography. So, yeah, I don't really know. I do have to say this shot over here looks very cool because of the horns, I think that after Superman meets his mom, this should have been the shot. Should have been like, hey, let's get ready. Let's suit up. Let's go. Let's fight. I definitely enjoy this bit of like who would settle in a place like this, and we have Jason Momoa saying people have nowhere else to go. Jason Momoa's handle on Instagram is Pride of Gypsies. So yeah, it's kind of cool. It's a nice homage to the Gypsy Roma culture. I really like this shot of them coming up. This definitely screams of principal photography. It screams of storyboards. Matt Wagner cinematography, consistency, correct lighting. There's a nice, beautiful hint of dusk there, or Sondawn, whatever you want to call it. So I don't know. It's a great piece of celluloid. Same for this one. I mean, it's I don't know. My family was watching this on the other TV that's not 4K, and it looked alright. I can definitely tell that this movie, much like any other movie that relies heavily on special effects, needs a 4K. Whenever we see things like Aquaman's armor, it looks a little bit like weird cloth, but on regular televisions, but when you look at it on 4K, it definitely looks like quite a bit of armor. So I really love this little bit of him spilling the beans, as it were. Um, because he's sitting on the lasso of truth. Again, situational humor. But this joke, we already saw it. We saw this joke in Wonder Woman, when Steve Trevor is like, "How do I prove you that I'm right?" He's like, "Oh man, we're probably gonna die." That is definitely the same joke. And one of the things that I really dislike about Joss Whedon is that he steals jokes. When Thor, what is it? The first Thor movie, or the after credit scene, when they were trying to pick up the hammer and all the truckers couldn't do it. He took that scene and basically imitated with the Avengers, into a party scene. Hey, let's pick up Thor's hammer. Ha ha ha. It's the same joke, but stolen joke. So again, whatever. This is a beautiful shot that I would say it's probably worth the price of my movie. And it's very, very beautifully lit, and then we cut to a giant field of red. A magenta coloring. I'm just like, oh god. Why do you need to put this? I don't know why they did it. It's I don't know. I know that the red skies are supposed to signify, apocalyptic technology and whatnot, but it needs not be there, because if TVs are not adequately calibrated, red turns really quickly into pink. And that's not a diss, but that's a horrible calibration. Red is a really tricky color to get. That's why sometimes movies about Mars, often don't look that good, cinematically speaking. It's not so much that we hate pink or the color red, but it's a tricky color to get, That's why when people, were showing the videos of lava from the current or the recent Hawaii Kilauea flow, people are like, "Whoa, lava looks so cool." It's like, well, yeah, it's not just pink water or, lukewarm orangey color. There's a vibrancy to it, and it affects other things. Same thing with the, red skies, and now we have lightning. So you complicated all these special effects shots twofold. You have the red lighting and the blue freaking lightning. So I don't know. It's kind of a weird juxtaposition that requires meticulous work, and I think they just did it. I think Joss Whedon just did it because it was easier, kind of like some kind of Instagram filter to just try to blend all these scenes together. And they're like, well, we need to make it somewhat monochrome into redness. And I noticed that the weird lava wave is flowing faster than what the truck is capable of. I don't know. I'm just nitpicking it, but I like the rock formations. That's pretty cool. I like the cannon on the Batmobile. It's necessary if you're going to battle parademons. This is very, very tricky because he's about to crush all these parademons coming towards him with a a giant structure. He seemed to do it. There are other ones, and it looks like they're not taking kindly to this human telling them what to do. In this scene, I was thinking like, hey, maybe his car will turn into a bike, but no, he has a team of superheroes, that help him out. Obviously cool, the fact that, they're helping him, and I really like the banter, I'm not sure I like the whole thing is like, hey, I'm not the one who brought up pitchfork or whatever. It's like Batman wouldn't say something that stupid after seeing how much water he was able to deflect from the team in the tunnel. Um, so yeah, I do love me some Jason Momoa Aquaman. I kind of miss the other shot that we saw in the preview where he throws the quintet into two parademons and makes shish kebab out of them, which is pretty cool. I like this one where he's surfing a dude down, surfing a parademon down into a building. That's pretty cool. Then this little hair wave, like a hair product, commercial. I do hope that this Batmobile is not replaced in the new, Matt Reeves, trilogy. We were supposed to see Batman use that gun turret, that stuff was cut. And like I was saying, I really like his eyes over here, Steppenwolf, they're kind of glowing, and that makes it a little bit more terrifying. Maybe if it wasn't glowing red like Darkseid, could have been purple. That would have been nice. And I like the team dynamic over here towards the end. They seem to be working in unison. I think if you know what's coming here, there was a scene where Cyborg kind of tilts his head back, and there is some kind of vision of which was going to be a vision of Justice League Part 2, which is pretty awesome. I like the fact that they kept some of the original photography here and just added very, very minimal extra redness to it. I do like the fact that there's an armored Batman, but not as heavily armored as he was going to go against Superman, This shot right here reminded me a lot of, when Megatron splits, what is it, Sideswipe? Jazz in the first, Transformers movie where he rips him in half. Kind of cruel. Like I'm saying over here, there is, the trucks, the civilians are, running away from whatever terraforming is going on. I think there's too much lightning in this shot. Probably a reshoot. Not as controlled lightning as whenever we saw, Snyder do it. I like this shot because it's a teamwork. But it is kind of dangerous over here for both Aquaman and Diana. They're both, pretty resistant to damage, but still, you are fighting a new god. Even if he's in exile, and I can't believe that Batman ran out of bullets. And here's the shot that I was telling you guys. Where Steppenwolf just gonna grab Cyborg and kind of, does the Megatron thing. It's like, it's kind of sad and messed up. I kind of wish that there was a, I like this shot. I don't know. I know that they filmed this awesome Superman shot in a blue screen, but it was all CGI hands, CGI mustache. I kind of wish they would have kept some kind of original material from Superman. And yeah, this is cool. There's a nice whimsy of the new Superman, which, if you think about it, why would he be all happy-go-lucky? And Zack Snyder answered that. Basically, he's happy to be alive. If you ever had a near-death experience and you moved on, you are very happy, very grateful. And that's kind of changes the whole Boy Scout dynamic. It's not so much that, oh, gee, golly, I'm going to save somebody from a tree. It's more like, dude, I'm lucky to be alive. I enjoy life. I'm going to protect life. Simple as that. And you don't really want, really complex, complicated, convoluted explanation to your heroes, but you do want something cohesive and something human that we can all relate to. A lot of people want the big blue Boy Scout as a default without any explanation. They're just like, oh, well, just 'cause America, It's like, no, you kind of want to have an explanation of why he would act like that. And if your explanation is like, well, he was dead in the comics of the 50s, my response is that, that was neutered, censored Superman. That was all that was left after the hearings from government censorship. So if you like that, you're not a fan of Superman. You're a fan of America propaganda and American censorship and American brainwashing. Make Superman Donner again. The Trump America. It's ridiculous. And Superman's beyond that. Going back to the battle, we're seeing a lot more teamwork. This awesome shot of Superman just beating the hell out of, him. And then there's the, heat vision. It's pretty badass, I have to say. I kind of wish that we have the Zack Snyder cut to see what's going on, because I think the return was also really emotional and beautiful and powerful. So until we have that cut, this will do, as it were. I think Superman is definitely more powerful than this. I think that the filmmaker just kind of held it a little bit too long. I think when Superman touches it, he just should have pulled the things apart, very easily. Some people like this kind of bit of banter. I don't like the fact that, I want to die. That's stupid, why? Don't do that. Again, here's children. I work with children. No, you work with Joss Whedon, a man-child. That's what is happening over here. And Steppenwolf, not dead yet. Not knocked out. There was a rumor that Wonder Woman originally was supposed to decapitate Steppenwolf and send him back, into the boom tube, in this place right here where she just picks up the sword and just, does that. I find it weird that all of a sudden Superman knows how to do freeze breath, and I think this was the shot of her just, cutting his head in half. And they changed it to cutting his axe. And again, I think it's because of fear, the introduction that Joss Whedon film. And I don't know. I feel conflicted of all these heroes just letting parademons eat him. It's almost like I don't know. It's a little bit too not heroic. I find it hard to believe that there was no backlash against this movie because of that the heroes let a bunch of parademons eat him. But then again, where are you gonna hold him? Where are you going to keep Steppenwolf in a prison? You could freeze him, I'm pretty sure he's not going to move. And this is definitely a Zack Snyder shot. I do think the background was originally orange because it was more of a Justice League Unlimited introduction kind of a vibe. In time, you'll join them in the sun. Kal-El should have been playing. That's what we should have been hearing here. This is it was replaced with God, I didn't miss this. It's like, things should have been a little bit more epic, and instead it just ends in a little, I don't know. It's like I said, it's got all my heroes. I love them a lot, but it does leave me wanting a little bit more. Here's another beautiful, Zack Snyder shot. I do believe this one is principal photography. I don't see the CGI mustache. I see Batman wearing black, not white or whatever crazy color they had him in. I think that, in the original script, she agreed to marry him, and, she's going to live here with Ma Kent, and Superman's just going to fly her to work every morning. Makes sense. Here we go. Barry Allen got a nice job to impress his dad, or not to impress his dad, but to impress himself. Stop running, so it makes sense that he's going to be a forensic analyst, because he's going to be able to solve, his mom's murder and probably free his dad. We see Lois Lane go back to work, but with a weird voiceover. I don't even think that's Amy Adams doing the narration, which is a pity. Amy Adams has a very lovely voice. And I think all these heroes deserved a better epilogue. Not to mention that, having the meeting place be the Wayne Manor, I think that's going to be very easy to detect, by the bad guys. That's why the Hall of Justice makes a little bit more sense. Here we see Cyborg kind of formed himself a little bit more. Aquaman just being more badass, swimming with the whales, pretty awesome, doing a sonic boom below water. Flash skipping across, because if he was to run and put all his kinetic energy into the floor, he would create giant, fissures in the floors and stuff like that. Here we have Wonder Woman stepping into the limelight, as instructed by Batman. Weird. Here we have a beautiful shot of Commissioner Gordon and lighting up the bat signal. A beautiful shot, goes a long way. You can tell this is a Snyder Wagner shot. Snyder was definitely present for this, so he did wanted to end the movie with, optimism and the classic Superman this pose, and this should have been, the Man of Steel theme. I'm not gonna wait till all these titles roll. What do I think about this movie? Well, I think that it was, average, but it's above average because it has my characters for me personally. I think that until we get the Snyder cut, this will do. I don't find myself watching it as often as, Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Wonder Woman, and even Suicide Squad. So it is, I would say my one sore thumb in this universe. I still watch it, but, as you've heard, I have a lot of nitpicking things. And here we have an awesome race between the Flash and Superman. It's funny, but I don't think this counts as a really cool after credit scene. Anyways, the other after credit scene is a lot better with Deathstroke and Luthor. I think that should have been a better one. And this one should have been the one that stayed at the end credits. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, conclusion on the movie. I think that we needed a better soundtrack. We needed better themes. We needed better editing. Things that made Man of Steel, BBS, Wonder Woman, and even Suicide Squad, more predictable, more enjoyable than predictable. Is this kind of Age of Ultron bad? Nah. It's a little bit more enjoyable. And yeah, that's Joss Whedon's Justice League. Anyways, thank you for this. I hope to do a commentary for the Justice League Zack Snyder cut when it comes out. Anyways, keep on DC strong, and I'll see you guys at another podcast. Thank you. Bye-bye.